It's PB day, YouTube, and I'm so excited. We broke them on 50s with it. I was overly excited. Had my other brother, not a new brother, another brother, Steve, helping me out today. So you guys will meet him for the first time. And first pass was a 147. We got some data log to go over, and still trying to figure out some things out with the compound gear setup. Trying to change some adjustments, this, that, and the third. But check out these runs, and then we'll get back to it. And I was going to go through a little bit of how the compound works. And I got a little tiny makeshift setup to try and show you guys how it all works, why I'm using it, how I'm using it. So, without further ado, check out the video runs. Alright guys, 8s lowered the pinion by 5 teeth. That was a pass and a half, that was. I will take that. I will take that to the bank. That was a nice pass. That was an awesome pass. Awesome pass.
Can't you make a double? Can't you do it again?
Yeah. We gotta finish this video. You're on video. This is my brother Steve, everybody.
Oh, how you doing?
Setting in for Aaron. That was a good pass. Pull her off the side of the road. Alright. So there you go. See what he did. Coming. That was a good pass. Picking up on that car. Get back here. Behind us? Oh, you can go around. Go ahead. So there we go. One more time. Picking up. Stop. Read. 147. I will take that, buddy. I will definitely take that. 147. Woohoo! Alright, second pass on the batteries. Let this traffic get down a little bit. Here we go. All right, that was another awesome pass. She's boogieing now. She is boogieing now. What? She is definitely boogieing now. I don't know, that very well could have been faster. Yeah. There we go, we just picked up signal. Picking up on that car. There we go. One more time. Picking up. Got a bike coming. Alright, one more time. There we go. Stop. Read. 152, baby! That's it! Woo! 152. 2,402 feet, baby. PB for this car, buddies. I'm excited. I'm glad that worked out.
Christmas.
I am. I'm excited. Big brothers. They don't understand. Alright. So, there's two of the SMC, not SRDs, the DV Extreme packs. They're really not handling a lot of voltage, or a lot of amperage past 400 amps, because they're only rated for 400 amps. But this is still the compound gear setup. and she's working, and went down 5 teeth on the pinion from the previous run at 143. And I tried 2 teeth down and it pulled close to 500 amps, and it was still dropping battery voltage way lower. But as you guys can see, I just pulled off a 152 and I dropped it 5 teeth down. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I got it all right. There's a lot of teeth in there. So 152, there you go, new PB. All right, so some awesome runs. The car was flying, car was scooting, screaming, hauling butt, that is for darn sure. So that second pass, the 152, 472 amps, which is cool. So even gearing down 5 teeth on the pinion from, definitely got some time in 100% power out. So on that note, I'm very excited. I'm happy for the car itself to go 150 miles an hour plus. That I'm very stoked about. The K-Bash's motor working great. Everything is working great. I'm so happy to see the short wheelbase do it. And you know, one step at a time. This is the fun for me in this hobby, is I learn every single pass I make. You know, one thing at a time, adjusting one thing, getting suspension straight. This car was hauling straight. I mean, made a very minor changes to the suspension, which worked out great, and a little bit into the throttle curve, which is affecting the perfect pass, which I believe. And if you see what I mean by that, is if you see this input, the black line here, that is almost, you can see a little bit of wiggle, but that is almost linear, perfect. But if you see this blue line here, it steps and it steps and it steps, and that was essentially for me trying to adjust how the throttle curve in the radio, the Throttle Expo, comes in. I've only used perfect pass, but this is my idea of what I think is happening with this curve and why it's being affected so dramatically up top. If you take out down low and you slow the input of the throttle down low, that eventually has to catch up to itself eventually. Somewhere in that curve, all of that needs to be squeezed together and pushed out in what I call a throttle dump. When it's dumping all that throttle input up top now, because you took it out from down low, now you're leaving less of a time frame up top. My thought, my theory, my idea, what I think is going on. If you know, I think that is what's happening. So it is affecting the perfect pass. I did take quite a lot out of the Expo. I'm going to add back what I pulled out a little bit to try and help that factor, but it was just essentially to try and help this down here, which I did. This is a pretty short pass as far as I'm concerned. So outside of that, really super excited. New PB. So this is your compound gear train. So if you were having issues on, you wanted to reduce a gear ratio, obviously down to this, which would totally reduce this incredibly. This spool right here, if this was your drive shafts, would turn so slow based off of this setup right here. It would be incredible. This car would go extremely slow. But we're not into that. We're into going fast. So what you would do is reverse this. You would reverse this. The motor would be on the bigger one in this example. And then by reversing that, say this was your drive shaft and the motor was over here. If your motor was driving this big, huge gear to that, to this, to that, because these two are connected on the same shaft, you would be doubling the RPM output of this setup. But obviously these two large gears as a pinion inside of a compound gear ratio would be absolutely astronomically so much RPM, it would be insane. It would be incredible. Your motor mount didn't allow you to run the size pinion that you needed. Well, to obtain the gear ratio that you were trying to look for, what you could do is, instead of running a big, huge, gigantic pinion off of the motor, you could then run it compound with smaller gears. So if you notice, that one there is a significantly small gear. How you get the ratio that you're using, motor being the driver, driven, driver, driven. You would take your driven over your drive, you would divide them, and then you would take your driven over your drive, divide it. So now you have two numbers. Driven drive, one number, driven drive, second number. You would take those two numbers, multiply them together. That would ultimately give you your end-all ratio. But that is essentially what I'm working with in here. So this is exactly with different gears how the car is set up. You have one pinion driving, and then off of the same shaft there's a small one, and then this one. But you have to figure out how all that works. Like I just said, you can easily figure out a gear ratio by pinion, spur, and divide them, multiply them, and you have an end-all ratio. But what actually works with an electric motor and a 14-pound speedrun car, if it weighs 14 pounds, whatever it weighs, I forget. But that is essentially why I'm doing this, because it's fun and I love it. To me, this is interesting to me. I've never done it before. I've always wanted to do it before, and now I'm actually getting the chance to do it. So it's really cool. And this is just an example, so don't hold me to it, and I'm sorry for butchering the explanation, but this is essentially what a compound gear train looks like. You have an intermediate shaft in between the motor and your center drive line. Driver, driven, driver, driven. Divide, multiply them two together, you have a ratio, which is why I'm playing around with it. It's so fun. I love gears. I am a transmission mechanic. Hope you guys enjoyed it. That's my compound gear setup, and stay tuned. You never know. Could hit big speeds. Catch you guys on the next one. Like, comment, subscribe.